Welcome to Plato's Cave, reflecting upon our current lifestyle on this planet, where we still essentially operate on constructs that are centuries old and obsolete. No longer so relevant to a 21st century civilization where we too often still think and act anachronistically. Because surely this cannot be the best of all possible worlds.
And they're off.
In Plato's cave we congregate, believing we're the top primate. Our attributes we overstate, by light of day we're far less great. It's in our genes to fornicate, a pleasure we much advocate. Males rampant with machismo gait, while some females self-decorate. Small tits implants exaggerate, armpits and legs we depilate. Like cream so skin won't corrugate, and blemishes don't replicate. We'll ruthless to exfoliate, and with sense to infatuate. With baubles bright that pendulate, in efforts to become ornate. From heads protrude our ears lobate, with pins and studs we can potate. And dangle earrings so collate, the same both sides to counterweight. And draped across our omoplate, gold necklaces with charms lunate. On fingers stones of silicate, that jewelers facet and serrate. Bracelets the size of a fan plate, complete our task to titillate. The sole goal just to illustrate personas that can captivate. We pucker up and osculate, preparing to inseminate. Fast comes the time to penetrate, we clinch, secure, and consummate. When swimming sperm capacitate, the female seed can germinate. A 9-month sentence to gestate in warm dark caves that incubate. The bulging tummy we palpate, and feel a being palpitate. The swollen breasts start to lactate, new life begins to maturate. With great success we procreate, all lovingly our neonate. And backslap to congratulate the ease with which we propagate. Though if we're gay instead of straight, or just prefer to masturbate, then can their penis elongate and harmlessly ejaculate? Or women, can the hips gyrate, and with a dildo self-vibrate, and sperm and eggs stay inchoate, and children won't proliferate? But we know there are none as great on this earth where we congregate. We are much misplaced to overstate and crown ourselves the top primate. Us kids that do eventuate, with chubby fingers digitate. Our little feet folks titivate, we squirm and squeal and caconate. Our parents know each unique trait, and each one they enumerate. Our comforts they facilitate, their lives to us they dedicate. Our first names we abbreviate, for Katharina, call me Kate. Ignatius is condensate, or Iggy should you be a mate. Our birth records they laminate, our nurseries they constellate. Against most germs they vaccinate, they're thorough to inoculate. We each become a state inmate, we're sent to schools that educate. Though some would say indoctrinate, and with peers we confederate. Braces for our mouths to take, to stop decay we fluoridate. Pains our mums ameliorate, abrasions they iodinate. Each year we grin for our portrait, to document our fast growth rate. Fat diets to control our weight, replace sugar with cyclamate. For culture, one trip to the tape, in sports some bones we dislocate. Take test teachers invigilate, and learn how to procrastinate. In English told to lucubrate, instructed when to hyphenate. In math we're taught to tabulate, and times tables ingeminate. Learn languages we mistranslate, in history events that predate. In chemistry lixiviate, in music how to syncopate. Boys weird out to self-calculate, for ADD we medicate. Stray cats we like to lapidate, for weaklings we excruciate. Meanwhile young girls start to mutate, till we emerge as ripe jailbait. By 12 it's time to menstruate, for 40 years we'll ovulate. Safe sex pamphlets elucidate, about how we should conjugate. Our parents we alienate, we seek to individuate. Until adults will graduate, and in most ways just imitate the homes where we originate, the cycles us perpetuate. But we know there are none as great on this earth where we congregate. We are much misplaced to overstate and crown ourselves the top primate. Monosodium glutamate in most foods that we masticate. Our drinks the makers caffeinate, we think this will rejuvenate. It doesn't take a diplomate to know we shouldn't drink phosphate. Don't smoke detoxicaffeinate, use diets that desalinate. With good food we capacitate, eat badly we dilapidate. Food oils we hydrogenate, kill fungi with merthiolate. When wanting to exhilarate, it's common to intoxicate with alcohols that lubricate, fermented from the vine's backache. But after all we drankinate, we ingest much bicarbonate. As stomach ulcers aggravate, our mouth glands start to salivate. We loudly belch and flatulate, cascades we then regurgitate. Leave puddles where we urinate, then wait in queues to defecate. In slur speech we alliterate, our throbbing dull heads acerbate. For fast relief we aspirate, a few breaths of amyl nitrate. We pop some pills to stimulate, nerve systems to accelerate. We like to soar and elevate, to worlds beyond those of our fate. Or search for something to sedate, and help us to eradicate the demons we hallucinate, in darkened realms within our pain. But we know there are none as great on this earth where we congregate. We are much misplaced to overstate and crown ourselves the top primate. The social structures we create, clear boundaries delineate. The rich from poor will insulate, in regions of prime real estate. We're safe behind a stately gate, steel bars that craftsmen lancelate. With rich motifs they foliate, in copper they electroplate. Stone columns on a stylobate, accent facades we crenellate. High towers we can fenestrate, and ramparts we machicolate. Our in-ground pools we chlorinate, tweak gardens caretakers curate. Our worries just evaporate, as guests in all felicitate. Our riches help us levitate, the heights where we luxuriate. In rooms of marble and glazed slate that chandeliers irradiate. The unwelcome can't infiltrate these lavish chateaux latinate, where decorators floriate and fresh brewed coffees percolate. These palaces instantiate the wealth that we accumulate. A life of lords we simulate, no way will we die intestate. Our money we can fecundate, to own the best ours to dictate. This role we will not abdicate, our comforts will not abnegate. On holidays we aviate, to beaches where we estivate. Lounge in the sun with our co-mate, relax so we don't herniate. But those who can't participate, towards middle class will gravitate. To drab suburbs will relocate, submissively assimilate. We dutifully domesticate, and fence disputes we arbitrate. To mortgages capitulate, and on consumer goods fixate. Devotedly we renovate, appliances predominate. In heated spas we macerate, and hope will never liquidate. In slums the poor populate, exposed to rents that strangulate. Cold flash where heat don't radiate, and bleak nights make breath compensate. We ask landlords to fumigate, the vermin to exterminate. In pantries roaches nauseate, and filthy rats intimidate. From noise the walls reverberate, the neighbors' fights reiterate. The airless hallways suffocate, 5 door locks we must situate. So worse we that itinerate, our shelters we've had to vacate. Soup kitchens graciously donate, the hot meals we ingurgitate. Most druggies cannot motivate, enough to rehabilitate. Drunks find it hard to moderate, a fondness to inebriate. And on the streets gangs demarcate, select trust and consolidate. New members we initiate, trespassers we assassinate.
But we know there are none as great on this earth where we congregate. We are much misplaced to overstate and crown ourselves the top primate.
Small industries amalgamate and streamline how we operate. Outsource, downsize, and automate. Competition we obliterate. From this huge profits emanate. Stockholders hail the chief magnate. A demigod we adulate, although he's found to peculate. Since companies self-regulate, their price tags tend to escalate, which leaves us all to contemplate outstanding debts as they inflate. Big chain stores have funds to regret, which helps us to potentiate. False bargains interpenetrate, consumers who decelerate. Some financiers prognosticate on spending we should concentrate, but others strongly intimate it makes more sense to curb the spate. On markets, punters speculate, hope dividends quadruplicate. A windfall we anticipate, our surplus needs we satiate. Though if the bank should designate, with nothing to hypothecate, we need not rant and get irate, bankruptcy we can austicate.
But we know there are none as great on this earth where we congregate. We are much misplaced to overstate and crown ourselves the top primate.
As leaders we just barely rate, we narrowly habilitate. By any means we dominate, with cover-ups like Watergate. To rule supreme our one mandate, each one of us a potentate. The world is ours we estimate, the good that's done we then negate. With colleagues we collaborate, but treat the rest like excess freight. We bully and manipulate, and choose not to negotiate. Our custom to prevaricate, an instinct in our genes innate. Deception is a skill connate, for these sins we will not lustrate. A lot of crap we fabricate, reality we obfuscate. The vital facts we expurgate, and falsehoods we enunciate. Unbridled greed we instigate, vast funds we misappropriate. We take but fail to compensate, these acts we always exculpate. In question time equivocate, and with straight faces nuncupate. Ignore those who interpolate, long-term goals we abominate. The voters we conciliate, at conferences confabulate. Amendments we intercalate, in question time we hibernate. Opposing thoughts we denigrate, the like minds we can tolerate. We love those who ingratiate, and help us to renominate. 2 fingers high that bifurcate, from all the crowds that execrate this growing global feudal state where overlords officiate.
But we know there are none as great on this earth where we congregate. We are much misplaced to overstate and crown ourselves the top primate.
All creatures that are vertebrate must work until lungs crepitate. The weekly grind we punctuate with weekends that invigorate. In fair times we could federate, in unions that would regulate, and make the bosses obligate to wage skills we would help parade. If wrong we could expostulate, and switch up we inactivate, until the bosses expiate and profits fairly integrate. As populations pullulate and workplaces deregulate, employers we propitiate, the paymaster a cold cheapskate. We now closely approximate the slaves we used to castigate. Our hands from hard work desiccate, taskmasters we calumniate. Our pay packets we calibrate, so debt we don't exacerbate, and bankers can't expropriate possessions that we aggregate. We hope that we can compensate our incomes with a tax rebate to partially alleviate the bottom lines we rubricate. Employment as fantasticate, remunerations they mistake, make false claims and interpolate, the overtime they understate. Those of us that matriculate hope that will be a candidate for jobs that we associate with offices that coruscate. Superb CVs we paginate, at interviews excogitate. Our strengths we strongly iterate, and loyalty we predicate. The unemployed lines rotate, we've exceeded our use-by date. This puts us in a dire strait, our self-worth it can vitiate.
But we know there are none as great on this earth where we congregate. We are much misplaced to overstate and crown ourselves the top primate.
Airheads like to uncomplicate, our brain mass we choose to deflate, elated to decerebrate, delighted to decorticate. We've no need to sophisticate, we're happy with our heads has state. From branch to branch we brachiate, and treat life like a gala fate. The media all syndicate, in hopes ratings will triplicate. Hyperboles we circulate, reality we underrate. Truth at times we annihilate, in-depth news we abbreviate. Complex facts we adulterate, and skewed views we disseminate. On gossip we exuberate, paparazzi we remunerate. Remarks we can substantiate, bring libel suits to litigate. infuriate. Our minds we tend to passivate. With partial news we corroborate what we choose to communicate to friends with whom we ideate. For hours we can vegetate. In front of screens our eyes dilate. Gulp down beers we refrigerate. Then to the loo to micturate. With TV sport we recreate. When our team scores we much elate. But should it lose we fulminate. So much we hyperventilate. Like breaking news will indicate. Infernos that incinerate. Hot lava flows that granulate. Skyscrapers that disintegrate. The internet's the place to escape. This labyrinth can fascinate. A billion sites concatenate while trying to dissimulate. For sex sites we can deviate. Watch all and sundry copulate. In skin flick sadist flagellate. Or on a face expectorate. Use sites where porn stars personate. Perform sex acts that consternate. Contortions that necessitate the Kama Sutra to translate. Fingernails girls variegate. With flair and poise they exuviate. Seductive lips they miniate. Imply they're happy to fillet. To further help our glands pulsate. On social sites we acclimate. With words we can impersonate. Be anyone we stipulate. No one need know we're overweight. Or suffer from a weak prostate. Ourselves online we recreate. Without the flaws our friends we rate. Our strengths we can accentuate. Without need to authenticate. These strangers to whom we narrate will never meet us tete-a-tete. As bloggers we can validate. Use that others repudiate. On points of fact pontificate. And generally just ventilate. Our hard disks overpopulate. With games designed to scintillate. Their hardness levels we gradate. Some easy, some infuriate. Into strange lands we immigrate. Where avatars peregrinate. We meet fierce foes sent to frustrate. Our goal is to reciprocate. These scoundrels we must obviate. Like countless tools aimed in stalemate. The cyber hell we relegate. Slain zombies who then duplicate. When losing we vociferate. And seek to disaffiliate. We check the scores to correlate. And shun the game and terminate. It's hard to differentiate what's real and what we just conflate. Our lives just seem to emulate the fiction we prefabricate.
But we know there are none as great on this earth where we congregate. We are much misplaced to overstate and crown ourselves the top primate.
Our legal systems formulate and law and order permeate. Authorities investigate, with victims we commiserate. False clues often exasperate, mistakenly may implicate, but new facts then illuminate those wrongly charged they vindicate. As villains we're invertebrate, our skills we overestimate. In flawed plans we miscalculate, and leave clues that incriminate. Escapes we must precipitate, and so we fastly interstate. Our layers police triangulate, to capture and incarcerate. Appointed is a magistrate, to manage and adjudicate, with ranks of lawyers to debate, and juries to incorporate. So trials we coordinate, great charges we effectuate, the purpose is to criminate, the lawbreakers we derogate. Next prosecutors postulate, the prisoner is a reprobate, and further we insinuate, he's only good for fishing bait. Defense then tries to demonstrate some factors that extenuate, the jury must appreciate, this miscreant's a retardate. In closing, lawyers inculcate the jury to exonerate, but prosecutors perorate, a guilty verdict actuate. The 12 jurors then sequestrate, we're told not to discriminate, the gory details explicate, and evidence evaluate. Behind closed doors we altercate, decide the fate of this ingrate, the heinous crimes we quantitate, the rights from wrongs we calculate. For hot tea breaks we infiltrate, all facts we recapitulate, choose one to intermediate, the verdict to articulate.
But we know there are none as great on this earth where we congregate. We are much misplaced to overstate and crown ourselves the top primate.
Whole forests we defoliate, chainsaws determined to truncate, our lush wetlands we desiccate, green grasslands we deracinate. With muck our rivers constipate, our reservoirs now execrate, vast oceans we contaminate, once pristine lakes coagulate. Hectares of woods we conflagrate, replace with fields we irrigate, and grossly over-cultivate to grow peas that we dehydrate. Our farms we supersaturate with kilos of superphosphate, encourage plants to pollinate, but spray so they don't verminate. Use dams close valleys to hydrate, these lakes now form a new substrate where bees no longer bombilate, and birds cannot nidificate. The polar ice shells fractionate, warm air won't let them regulate. For fur seals we excoriate, in numbers that depopulate. In jungles hunters ambulate, and rifle sites we collimate. The loud shots discombobulate, where beasts we incapacitate. Use schools of fish we decimate, we fillet and we decolate. Their egg sacs we invaginate, indulge ourselves on row of 8. Crustaceans with cellulate are dredged up by the hundredweight. Then cook till pink cookbooks notate, their limbs we disarticulate. Grain-fed pigs we eviscerate, their limbs and head we obtruncate. The unctuous lard machines quadrate, for crackling will decrepitate. The cries of sheep arpeggiate, we slaughter and exsanguinate. The meat with herbs we impregnate, for warmth their wool we flocculate. On poultry we decapitate, their eggs we transilluminate. Internal glands we levigate, chop liver pate on a plate. 10 cattle herds we decimate, our feet their skins encapsulate. Their meat in wine we marinate, and char it on a party grate. We soil slowly salinate, our drinking water we filtrate. The air filled with particulate from gases that we generate. The green groups that we delegate, to save, restore, and depurate. With vigor they expostulate, and on our wrongs expatiate. Developers conglomerate, and politicians defalcate. Protection bills are edentate, their strength and change we overrate. It's right to decontaminate, polluters disincorporate, but tricky to vaticinate, when that age will denominate. Much wildlife we devastate, as habitats attenuate. Extinction rates we festinate, or sanctity we violate.
But we know there are none as great on this earth where we congregate. We are much misplaced to overstate and crown ourselves the top primate.
Around the world we navigate, inclined to want to subjugate those allied we legitimate, the others we vituperate. Endless trees to seriate as our alliances fluctuate. When all else fails we spoliate, with swarms of weapons agitate. Satellites circumnavigate, with solar panels oriate. Antenna clusters decussate at altitudes that deaerate. Our job to disambiguate, and sovereign states impenetrate, in order to predestinate how best our foes to urticate. In vales that gently undulate, in forests where winds susurrate, in streets that pavers tessellate, we have no qualms to militate. In deserts where winds triturate, in fields canals reticulate, in lands oceans peninsulae, we're likely to extravagate. Our missiles poised to extirpate, or life with death we saturate. The past we foully desecrate, the future we appropriate. Despite how much some remonstrate, we force our foes' lives to mutate. Your valuables we confiscate, the hearts and minds we lacerate. Surreptitiously we jugulate, the innocent we inculpate. Reward those that tergiversate, and those that don't we immolate. Mass graves the tractors excavate, distorted corpses in a crate, still others in the dirt prostrate, our bodies bullets perforate. Shock parents yowl and ululate, their children's screams will resonate. At least those that resuscitate, the rest authorities cremate. Crushed prisoners we interrogate, we prod and poke and fustigate. The enfeebled we emasculate, just purely to humiliate. In dark cell souls of teomate, such actions families deprecate. We plead but captors objurgate, with no desire to placate. Appendages are placed pronate, and currents through them commutate. And once allowed to transmigrate, each soul becomes a renegade. The conquerors self-coronate, and place upon a stereobate stone statues to commemorate their triumph to dissimulate. The victor's actions indorate the hearts of those who emigrate. Our loathing will not modulate, nor with these raiders mediate. So refugees expatriate, passports officials annotate. We hope that at some future date, we exiles can repatriate. Some stateless won't habituate, and choose to disassociate. Displaced forced to evacuate, clandestinely perambulate. Of those some will retaliate, procure potassium nitrate, and timers that can detonate, homemade bombs meant to deflagrate. Vengeance we premeditate, and gracelessly recriminate. We're not inclined to sublimate, we're maggots that engorge on hate.
But we know there are none as great on this earth where we congregate. We are much misplaced to overstate and crown ourselves the top primate.
We've ample gods to venerate, who don't much help us mitigate transgressions that we perpetrate, the evils that we machinate. Whatever faith we nominate, have sacred laws we promulgate, and rituals we orchestrate, in temples that we consecrate. For help to gods we invocate, in chorus skyward we phonate. Our ills we pray to palliate, of ancient times we're derivate. Good Catholics transubstantiate, our God divine we trifurcate. In churches we conglobulate, the testaments we indicate. The Pope lives in his city-state, archbishops will rotuncinate. These chasemen of the first estate, reluctant to impropriate. Profane we excommunicate, the zealot strives a day oblate. From Protestants we segregate, because they consubstantiate. Jews are the chosen we orate, observe laws of the rabbinate. Once baby boys attain day 8, their king foreskins we amputate. Towards Mecca Muslims supplicate, the Koran we transliterate. Obey codes of the imamate, the kaleidoscopic caliphate. All Buddhists calmly meditate, round prayer will circumambulate. Protesting monks self-immolate, consuming flames asphyxiate. Inducing to reincarnate, a wealth of gods we animate. At Typhusum we celebrate, that karma's bound to ruinate. Zoroastrians to fire relate, Quakers prefer to rusticate. To Taoists opposites equate, our Krishnas did to nabulate. Rastafarians all cantillate, that Selassie is God incarnate. Fundamentalists don't innovate, with nature Wiccans affiliate. Astrologers recharge stellate, like pagans tend to imprecate. Good witches mix up mithridate, and past spirits discarnate. Creationists all intonate, and piously asseverate. God from clay did agglutinate, the man from whom we're all agnate. Charismatics intense jubilate, agnostics for hard proof we wait. Jade witnesses just irritate, with door knocking that won't abate. And atheists extrapolate, the universe is insensate. Religions only dissipate, our skills to ratiocinate.
But we know there are none as great on this earth where we congregate. We are much misplaced to overstate and crown ourselves the top primate.
In time old age will inundate our bodies, it will antiquate. Vitalities deactivate, decay fails to de-escalate. Employment we must abrogate, our positions forces subrogate. We're made to superannuate, sent home where we deteriorate. When young we fail to cogitate, at some point we will culminate. To think we might decelerate, beyond us to deliberate. Thought processes degenerate, ideas fragment and divagate. Confusing notions agitate, a focused view we can't locate. Yet further still we enervate, spent legs inclined to vacillate. From side to side our spines liberate, to stand we need a strong helpmate. Translucent skins become bullate, green crusty scabs appear crispate. Landscapes of pimples postulate, thick yellow liquids separate. Internal leaks of exudate, as white blood cells extravasate. Bruised tired eyelids nictitate, blurred cloudy eyes obnubilate. Flawed organs deoxygenate, dry scaly windpipes ulcerate. We sound like snakes that sibilate, and grasshoppers they stridulate. Dim hearts commence to fibrillate, so doses doctors metricate. In quantities we mandicate, to help our thin blood inspissate. On square screens our life size oscillate, from wires we can't separate. Both forearms pale and supinate, are pierced with needles subulate. Our bedside nurses imbricate a host of charts that atom break, while gut surgeons invaginate and arteries inoculate. Facilities they sanitate, lungs plastic tents oxygenate. Down arthros doctors intubate, a rot they try to isolate. Till further we debilitate, no known cure will emancipate. On what has passed we ruminate, to change things now is way too late. Blood relatives don't hesitate to make the point that they're cognate. They want the sick to die test state and gift all assets and probate. Detached physicians dissertate as final stages depredate. For paddles they gesticulate when last try to defibrillate. There's no chance we'll recuperate, no way will we regenerate and awesomely eliminate the ailments that emaciate. Except for all facts we're in checkmate, all thoughts of life subordinate. From mortal coils extricate, the humming flatlines liberate.
But we know there are none as great on this earth where we congregate. We are much misplaced to overstate and crown ourselves the top primate.
We dance in circles, hands palmate like marionettes with heads mutate. Opinions we're loath to update, spewed out in public tongue vulgate. Our worldview we pixelate, those different we invalidate. Those like us we accommodate, reluctant to desegregate, resistant to acculturate, and biases deconcentrate. False gods we don't deconsecrate, humanities depreciate. Our Mother Earth we fast ablate, wreck anything that's half sensate. Through telescopes we now spectate and seek spheres where we can instate. Our plan to fill spacecraft will take, and from our globe flee festinate. In lengthy convoys we'll tailgate to find new warps to mutilate.
In Plato's cave we congregate, content to be the top primate. Our own self-worth we overstate. It's time we seek a new template.